We might. Okay. We're still redirecting on my end.
It's saying live on Facebook on my end.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry if you caught us like round one, but something was going on with my audio. So we are back now, and we are going to dive into our conversation all about your soul language. And I'm super excited about this conversation because it is with my dear friend, Danielle Searancke, who has been a huge influence in my own kind of personal and spiritual and intuitive development. And that is what she does. She is a spiritual medium, an intuitive guide. She's got a podcast called Spirit School. And some of you may recognize her because she is our new moon guru in the Clouds and Dirt, on the Clouds and Dirt website. So she writes our monthly articles. So I'm excited to finally feature her in an interview format. We've never quite done it like this before. And the inspiration came from, for the topic, actually came from tea I had over at Danielle's house. And we were talking all things kind of, consciousness and spirituality, which is kind of what we like to chat about when we get together. And I was kind of the notion that you are either born with psychic abilities or these like deep intuitive kind of channeling abilities, or you're not. And I always kind of considered myself as somebody who just didn't have these abilities. And I also had the perception that if you were a psychic, you were a clairvoyant. So you're actually visualizing and seeing these dead people, spirits, whatever you want to call them. And because I do not see these things, I just assumed I didn't have these abilities. But it was when I was talking to Danielle, she made it really apparent that there are other ways that we can communicate and channel with our own soul, with spirit, with our guides. And one of the ways is Claircognizant, which is a knowing. And I've always felt that I've had this. Like I've always, when it comes to kind of communicating with my soul, I can tell when I have a knowing about a situation or a person. And I did not realize that that was actually one of the ways that we can connect to spirit and our guides, etc. So I thought it would make a great topic, because if I'm going through this, I'm sure there's a million other people that maybe also thought that, you're either have these abilities or you don't, but we all do. So we're going to dive into that topic today. And I'd love to start with you, Danielle, if you could tell us, what was your kind of journey discovering that you had these kind of psychic abilities, if you will? Did you have it from a young age? Is it something kind of newer? Can you tell us a bit about your journey?
Yeah, well, and my journey was definitely like hindsight 2020, because it wasn't until I delved into my mediumship development that the rest of my life made sense. And I know that when I was 7 years old, I had a very powerful experience at a local swimming pool where I met this little boy named Skylar. And I had this, Oprah calls like an aha moment. And I knew I had a spirit guide, and I named him Skylar. And ever since I was 7 years old, I've just had this complete knowing that I was not alone and that there was somebody with me on the spirit side of things. And I was not raised by people who were religious. Like my parents, we never went to church. There's no religion in our background. So it was just something that I knew. And I actually became quite obsessed with religion as a young child and attended different churches by myself and read different Bibles. And I just had like this spiritual thirst at that very young age. And I remember being sent to Bible camp by request when I was like 9 years old, because there was something about that ceremony and something about that deep connection that just filled me up. And it was like an unquenchable thirst. And I remember looking into theology even as a teenager, but I couldn't find any studies in theology that weren't Christian based. And I wanted a complete unbiased one. Moving on in my life, like I remember my grandmother passed away when I was 9, which was the first person I lost. And me and my brother were both very psychic growing up, and we could see her. And we used to get terrified. And so we used to sleep under our covers and say, we love you, but we don't want to see you. Can you just like come to us in a different way? And me and my brother shared those experiences when we were children. Moving on, I had a very traumatic experience when I was 17. And usually the big experiences in life awaken you, kind of like crack you open and awaken you. So my second awakening was when I was 17. I had an experience that happened. I won't get into details because that's like crazy long story, but that was really a catalyst for me. I started getting really into mediumship and mediums. I started reading James van Praagh and Sylvia Brown, and John Edwards was on TV. And I started seeking mediumship because I really wanted to know what happened to people when they died, especially if people were not very kind in life. Like, what happens to somebody like this? And every medium I went and saw said I was a medium since I was 17, but I was a very troubled child, did a lot of bad things. So I always had this belief that angels wouldn't talk to me because, like, you know, I live in sin and all this. And I never believed it. And then I saw a medium when I was 27, and she said to me, I'm going to get readings from you soon. I was like, no. I'm like, that's not going to happen. But this curiosity was obviously something, right? Like this calling. And then it wasn't until I actually had the birth of my child, my first girl, Katie Jane. And when she came through me, it was like this path that I've been getting little hints to my whole life completely unfolded in a way that I could not have predicted and in a way that I could not miss. It was like I was on this path. Spirit was like, okay, here you are. The teacher appeared, which was Shanna Lee Gibson. I studied under her for 4 years. Wonderful teacher. I'll be talking a lot about some of her philosophies today. And yeah, you can't miss the path when this is kind of your path. And then when I discovered that connection through mediumship, and it was very subtle for me, it wasn't like this huge, like lightning bolts being brought down from the heavens. I was like, this has been happening my whole life. I'm like, this makes complete sense. So every day I wake up, and I had no plans when I was developing. I was just very curious and very flexible. And I just wake up every day saying, how may I serve? And people appear, and I'm able to be in a place of service. And yeah, I'm still on this development journey. It's been 6 years, and I still study under many teachers. And I teach now because, you know, one of my strongest philosophies is to teach is to learn. So I love to teach what I know, and knowing that as I grow and evolve, I'm going to have more to teach and more to learn.
So what did like the people around you, like what was your parents saying? Like what were the people around you kind of saying and thinking when you were growing up, like seeing your dead grandmother? And like, how did you kind of process that at such a young age?
Well, to be honest with you, a lot of my early life revolved around my brother. So he was seeing even more than me. And so my parents really kind of focused on him. So a lot of the learnings that I had were kind of like riding his coattails. He was my big brother. He's had a very challenging life. I won't go into the details, but my family really kind of like centers around my brother. So for me, it was just kind of like learning through him and his experiences, to be honest with you. My parents now are very open to it. I think the hardest one is my husband, because he doesn't believe in mediumship and he doesn't believe in an afterlife. So that, and when he met me, we both worked on a race team. I was very in my masculine. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I think I'm a medium. He's like, oh my God, you're not going to quit your job, are you? I was like, so that's been the hardest relationship, I think, to navigate. But
have you ever done a reading for him?
No,
he's not open to it. Hey,
no, and he's had loved ones come through in my readings, and like it's not like he's closed off to it. He's just not interested. And so, you know, I love my husband. He's so supportive of everything I do, but I know my boundaries. And like, if he's curious, he'll ask me about it, and I will tell him whatever he wants to know. But I never kind of like push it on him, right?
Yeah.
He grew up in a different place, and even when I went to New Zealand, I could feel it. I was like, where are the mediums here? Where are the psychics? And there was like none almost. And I was like, it's just a different world, right? So yeah, his mom's a bit curious though. She's always asking me for something.
And it is a whole world. Like, I mean, now that I'm kind of in this clouds and dirt space, and I get access to, you know, all of these healers and all these different spiritual modalities, like there are like a lot of psychic mediums and a lot of people that maybe aren't, you know, categorizing themselves as psychic mediums, but are really using these powers like in their coaching practice, or, you know, in their other healing practice. Like it really is kind of becoming a skill set that people are fine tuning. And you must see that like with your intuitive development, like with your sessions. Like, are you helping like everyday women, like professional, corporate, everyday women, like really harness these skills?
Yeah, well, and this is the intelligence of spirit, right? So spirit knows where my interest lies and where my strengths are. So my interest is more in the empowerment, whereas I think a lot of psychic readings that I've had have been disempowering in a sense, because they just tell me, oh, this isn't going to work out and this career is bad for you. And it's like, we have so much divine free will that I've made a promise to Spirit. I want to work on the empowerment side of things. I want to show women that they have everything they need within themselves to make all these decisions for themselves, and they don't need me. And so Spirit, the intelligence of it is they'll align clients to me that are interested in that kind of work. So very rarely will I get a client who comes to me wanting me to tell them what to do with their life, which I won't do just for my own ethics. And so, yeah, I do tend to draw a lot of women to me who have just come out of, you know, either becoming empty nesters or their children are becoming more independent and they're starting to focus on themselves and they want to know more about the spirit side of themselves. And so that's kind of where I come in.
And like when you say the spirit side of themselves, like is spirit in your work and your, you know, I know everybody has a very differing opinion and nobody really knows the answer to this, but is spirit the same thing as soul? Like is spirit guides, angels, soul, higher self? Like, are they all the same? Are they different? Like, what's your take on this?
Okay, well, I can hear Christy laughing right now, and I'm probably going to get a text because I tricked her over to my house on Monday for a glass of wine. I'm like, so tell me, what do you feel the difference between soul and spirit is?
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, I just want to give a bit of a backgrounder because I am a teacher at Nature. So the way that I gather my spiritual philosophy is through conversations with spirit. Of course, I read what other people write and I'll take bits and pieces of it and I'll see what resonates in my soul. We'll get into the Clairsentience, but the soul knows and recognizes its truth when it comes out. Those are like the spirit bumps that you get. So when I speak about my philosophy on this, I just want people to be super curious and flexible, do your research. And so I'll pose questions to spirit. And I was doing that last week and I was talking to Skylar and I'm like, yeah, soul and spirit and higher self. And I was like, I guess we just know when we go. And he's like, do we? And I'm like, no, don't do this to me. I'm like, we must know when we go. So for me, when I talk about spirit and anyone who's worked with me, I'm like, you know, spirit is impressing upon me. I'm using that as like, you know, the I am, the one and connected to everything. So my spirit is connected to Mother Earth, to Grandmother Moon, to Mother Nature, to the heavens, to the ancestors, to, you know, the piece of us that is always forever residing on the other side and close to God, if you will. I use the word God. I love that word. But my soul is the part of me that's within me and it's still connected to my spirit. I don't believe in a disconnection. I don't believe in defragmentation. I believe that my soul is within me. And this is the aspect of my spirit that holds the thumbprint of all the lives that I've had and all the lives that are to come. This is the aspect of myself that has experienced joy, has experienced elation, has experienced trauma, has experienced grief and loss. And this is just the imprint part of my spirit, which is my soul, that holds these wisdoms. And so you'll see it come up in your life. For me, I've had a fear of water my whole life. I grew up in Vancouver by the ocean. You will never catch me in the ocean, like even Hawaii, I freak out. And when I finally learned how to communicate with my soul, and I was like, what is this? I have no reason to be scared of the water. And the soul was showing me, you know, a past life where water was involved in my passing, and it all kind of like made sense. So you go to the soul for that kind of like imprint information. But again, you know, I believe that we use higher self and spirit interchangeably. I feel into the vibration of words and how they fit in my soul. I could feel the vibrational difference between soul and spirit, and I can't feel the vibrational difference between higher self and spirit. And I just believe that we use those words kind of interchangeably. So I use spirit as everything.
I feel like that was the best explanation between soul and spirit that I've ever heard.
Really?
Like,
I'm so nervous.
You call them soul bumps. I just had them all over my whole body. So
yeah.
The fact that the spirit is like the greater, you know, no time, no space dimension of us that has existed and always will exist. And the soul is what we're taking within this life that is a part of that, but we're taking it into this life. That is like such a beautiful description. And I feel that to be truth as well. So awesome. I love it. Thank you.
Yay. Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it. And I know, and I like how you also said the words, like, I mean, words are just vibrations, right? So I like how you said that, you know, the vibration between the word higher self and spirit feel the same to you. And that's a great way to really, I guess, reflect on things in our own life, because words Absolutely. Are signposts, right? So
yeah.
So let's dive in then. Like, let's talk about the four languages of the soul. We all know the love languages. Well, I can't name them, but we all know we have love languages.
Yeah.
What are the soul languages? Can we kind of go through them and maybe describe like how they present in our life, and
Yeah.
you know, how we know which one is like our strong point?
Yeah, and I'll go through some of the characteristics that you might resonate with for each of the clairs. I have little handouts for everybody because I'm a teacher, so I'll have something for everybody after for sure. But I'll speak to them in the order that I teach them in classes, and there's a reason behind that. So clairsentience is the first one; it's the foundational one. So that's the clear feeling. Everyone is born incredibly clairsentient. Everyone can walk into a room and feel the energy if things are off, if there's just an argument or if somebody's angry. Like, we can feel that as humans and as spirits having a human experience. As mediums, we want to develop our clairsentience first because we need to be able to sense the presence of spirit before we'll be able to see them, right? And I actually feel spirit. I identify myself as a medium, as a clairsentient. Almost all of the information I receive in sessions is through this ability. So I love how you described earlier how everyone likes to go to the clairvoyance. And I used to be so insecure. I'm like, I don't see things that much. But I also know that that's because I asked spirit as a child, I don't want to see you. And so they just, you know,
and I have seen your wishes.
And I have seen spirit a handful of times in my life, and each time it's been really unnerving. So I'm like, hey, I just want to like feel you and know of your presence. So as a medium, and I'm going to use this in a mediumship context because that's what I am. And it's the same. And what was fascinating about these languages with mediumship is I discovered in my readings, if you don't mind me quickly going here, I would be starting about a year and a half to give people information about who I thought was deceased loved ones. And then I discovered after a little while that they were saying, no, that actually sounds like me, what you're picking up through this ability of clairsentience. I was like, oh, and it took me a while to kind of understand that it was actually their soul speaking to me about things that they wanted me to raise. And so that's where my work's kind of shifted towards. But the clairsentience information that comes through me from spirit, whether it's you or spirit on the other side, will appear in emotions, in physical sensations. So if I'm dealing with somebody who had breast cancer or a heart attack, my chest will start hurting. If I deal with somebody who had a stroke, my left arm will go numb. Aneurysm back here, depression here. I have signs and symbols from spirit. They know where to bring this information to me in a way that I'll understand. What comes on often for women is around the throat chakra. So I'll actually feel my throat chakra tightening, and I'm saying, okay, there's spirit and your soul are letting me know that you're not speaking up about something. You're not speaking your truth. And we need to cleanse this energy. So sing. Just start singing, start telling yourself you love yourself. Like, speak in the most high vibrational frequencies to clear up this energy. So from a soul level, if you're in a situation where you're backed in a corner and your throat starts closing up, this is your soul speaking to you. You need to clear this, girl. You need to speak up. And there are always different ways in which you can do that. Singing is the best, to be honest with you. I don't like singing, but it is one of the best ways to kind of clear that up. So some natural signs that you might be clairsentient, I'm reading off my sheet here, but you know, you can really sense other people's emotions when you're around them. You feel the vibrations of people and places, right?
Like the empath, like the empath would have a heightened sense as a clairsentient.
Exactly. You might find yourself traveling as you do. And I went to Scotland. When I landed in Scotland, I was like, this is home. I'm like, I'd never felt so at home anywhere. And this is the soul recognition through clairsentience that you've been here before and that you have a deep rooted connection to this space and place. So that's how your soul will speak to you through that clairsentience, is that recognition, through that heart expanding, through that just feeling at home, right? And so that will come up. The shadow side of the clairsentience is really, I speak about this on my podcast, where I experience energy sickness a lot because I have dedicated to being a clairsentient medium. So I feel all the feels, right? And so that can drain me at a level that somebody who works in the clairvoyant faculty may not experience, because I am feeling a heart attack, because I am feeling lost, because I am feeling stuck. I'm riding along with my client emotionally and physically in that moment. So you really have to learn how to manage your energy. A few tricks I have is I like envisioning my aura coming just a few inches out from my physical body so that nothing can penetrate it unless you're that close, which, I mean, who's that close to me, right? I definitely use like crystals, like black tourmaline. I always have black tourmaline at my desk at meetings because I don't want to take on other people's stuff. We have a lot of power through intention to manage our energy when it comes to clairsentience. Any questions about clairsentience?
I don't know, I just got more goosebumps. Is that a clairsentient thing?
Yeah, and a really great way to develop it is to actually, as a first point, is start naming everything, right? So start naming how you receive things. Like, oh, I really feel this. Like, I feel lost. I feel hopeful. I feel expansive. Like, the more you can actually name and identify what you feel, that Claire starts to develop.
Yeah, and I'll just say too, because I know there's a few of you watching, and I'm keeping an eye on comments. So if you do have a question, just type it into the comments and I'll relay them to Danielle.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say about clairsentience is that it's connected to the sacral chakra. So the sacral chakra in my work is always represented of the womb. That's where the womb is held. So that's where our kind of like women issues are held, our traumas with our mother, our traumas with being a mother, you know. So if you're finding that you're not able to connect in with that part of your intuitive journey, look at that kind of stuff. See if there's any healing that could be done there to be able to kind of like move that energy along so you can start feeling all the feels.
Yeah. All right, what's the next one?
Clairaudience. So clairaudience is one that, you know, any developing medium will like go back to their early years and be like, oh, because none of us think that we have clairaudience. But when we figure out what it actually is, we realize we all have clairaudience. And clairaudience is, you know, that clear hearing. But what we expect, especially when we're first learning to develop, is that we're going to have like a booming voice externally outside of ourselves speaking. And that has happened a couple times in my life, but again, very rarely. A spirit will yell my name and it was like my ears like bleeding. Like I heard it from outside myself.
I hear dead people.
I'm like, girl, I'm like, who is this? And like I break into like hides. I'm like, it's so scary, right? So typically the clairaudience faculty actually happens in our own minds. It's that internal chatter. Most of my communicating with spirit is done in this way through clairaudience. I can, you know, I'll hear like a date. I'll hear like July. And I'm like, okay, I need to talk about July. I'll hear little tidbits like that come through clairaudience. Clairaudience, when you communicate with spirit in your soul, is really that internal dialogue. So anything that comes from spirit will be loving, empowering, and it will be wanting you to move forward in a positive way. It's always of love and from love. Anytime we have that internal chatter where, you know, we're hard on ourselves and we're beating ourselves up, that's us. That's our ego. That's the fear kind of coming up and getting some space. And sometimes it needs that space, right? But just know when spirit is communicating with you or your soul is communicating with you, it's always for the betterment of moving you forward in the most positive way. So people who are clairaudient naturally would like, you know, are really drawn to music. They're really good listeners. They find music can impact their mood. So I'm not one of these people. Music's just kind of like background to me. You can hear sounds that are inaudible to others. And you often hear ear ringing. Now, ear ringing could be kind of tricky because, of course, it could be tinnitus or however you pronounce it. But I also, and I've been looking at the ear ringing stuff philosophy for a long time. I do think that a lot of it is the clairaudience faculties opening up and flexing. I also think it's a sense of like when spirit's around or your vibrational frequency is on the rise, I get a lot of different ear ringing. But that is one of the signs that you will, experience some clairaudience stuff. So.
What about journaling? Like when you, I mean, like for myself, I know when I journal, I feel like I can connect to energy that really, like if I have questions, when I write it out, I can get that kind of automatic writing happening. Is
exactly
clairaudience?
On the back there, that is clairaudience, and that's one of the exercises to develop it, because clairaudience is completely connected to that throat chakra and that clear hearing, and that was communicating with spirit back in the day in like the 1800s. Was like a lot of it was done through automatic writing. right? So yeah, that's a really good way to develop it. Other good ways to develop it are, you know, if you could sit in a very public place and kind of just like rest your eyes and you start trying to listen to all the different sounds and then go deeper and deeper and layer. So you'll be at Starbucks, but then all of a sudden you'll hear a bus that's just like put on its brakes outside, and you'll hear a child screaming outside. It's like trying to get the furthest and furthest sounds. That's a really good way, as well as journaling when it comes to the clairaudience. But, you know, we can kind of be hard on ourselves being lost in our minds and in our thoughts and our heads. We think sometimes that's a very egotistical thing to do, but really I find a lot of my communication from my guides comes through clairaudience and through that internal chatter. So just talk away, and you will find that there'll be a quickness, and it's almost like a thought that comes and goes, and that's usually from spirit. Because I will try to repeat it to myself. I'll be like, whoa, was that me? And I'll repeat it to myself, and I could feel that resistance and I could feel that stutter compared to how it first appeared to me.
With like clairaudience and claircognizance, like the you know, the knowing and the hearing, how do you, like, is it always easy to kind of decipher between the two of them?
Discernment comes with practice. Like, to me, I think like so much of spiritual development comes down to your discernment practice. For me, like the claircognizant samples that I have coming up, I don't even know how I knew. I just said it. I didn't even think it. I just said it. Like, it just comes so automatically. It's almost like I'm literally a channel. But I do think that claircognizance can come through the thought faculty as well. Right? So that is one of those like double-edged things. It's much like clairvoyance. Was it from spirit or is it my imagination? It's kind of like this double-edged sword, if you want to use it like that. To me, you know, one of my teachers said, doesn't matter if you're getting it, how you're getting it. But the more that you are able to discern it, the clearer you will be able to understand what faculty it came from.
Yeah. Allison just shared, discernment comes with practice. And I think that's so true. And I think between the clairs, but also between like your higher self and like the ego, like the chattery mind that is kind of more fear-based. And, you know, sometimes I feel like my ego can almost play the role of like my soul, like it can kind of speak in the same loving tone. And I think like there's a discernment there as well.
There absolutely is. And if you think, you know, that's a great way of saying it. And, you know, if the soul is that part of ourselves that has experienced trauma and grief, like, it makes sense that that kind of stuff would come up from it as well, right?
Yeah.
No, so that's a really good question, and one that I recently just started thinking about. I'm like, isn't that interesting? Like they are kind of like similar, but I find that my clairaudience is more of like a conversation, whereas claircognizance is usually like solution based. It's quite interesting. I have some examples on that coming up, but.
And I'm guessing this is what we would learn in your intuitive development like sessions, like.
Yeah, and one-on-one mentorship, it's like I really can feel into, you know, I do believe we have access to every single faculty. It's just like, where do we put our intention, right? I'm intending to develop as a clairsentient because I enjoy that the most. Later on, I might be like, okay, I'm ready to like be like clairaudient. Like John Edwards is like an amazing clairaudient. He just like hears things like passes them off. Whereas like Teresa Caputo is an amazing clairvoyant. She sees symbols. She has a meaning behind every single symbol. And I don't think that we just stumble into those clairs. I think that we actually put an intention forward that that's how we want to work. And that's how I start every session. I'll tell spirit, like, I'm a bit drained today, so I kind of want to back off my clairsentience, and can we work through the clairaudience and clairvoyance? And they will adapt to me every single time.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Which clair is next?
Clairvoyance. Okay. This is the most popular one. Everyone always wants to talk about the visions, and this is the one that is like my final one that I'm going to be like really developing. I get really frustrated with clairvoyance. When I first started as a medium, I kept seeing like a motorcycle, and I was like, did they have a motorcycle? Like, what happened? And then after so much trial and error, I realized that motorcycle related to a car accident. I'm like, why? And so clairvoyance for me is something that I've been trying to develop. Some natural, if you are naturally clairvoyant, some of the traits that you might find yourself having are like vivid dreams that you can totally recall places and people and situations visually. often experiencing things like deja vu. You can visualize past experiences easily. So when I think of a past experience, I remember how I felt in that moment. I remember how other people felt in that moment. I hardly remember what I saw. So you'll be able to relate to a past experience through that vision. You can see aura around people and objects. You enjoy beautiful decor and have an eye for design, and you see random images in your mind's eye when you're just chatting away with people. This one's quite interesting. This one I find, again, to be a double-edged sword. Because I haven't found incredible accuracy in my readings leaning on my clairvoyance when it comes from like a mediumship perspective. But there have been times where I'll see something and then I'll see it like a minute later. And I know that that's my clairvoyance just being kind of exercised and that muscle being developed. A way that I like to walk people through developing your clairvoyance, if I close my eyes, I take people through a meditation of seeing like a blue door and like open the door and stand back from the door and really see and give it some life and play with it in that moment. That's a really good way to build your clairvoyance. You know, I think people have different definitions for clairvoyance. I'm talking about it purely right now from a clear seeing point of view, but some people use the word clairvoyance as like their title. I just see into the future. That could still encompass all the other different faculties. They just like to use that word clairvoyance as well. So yeah, I don't know if you have any examples with that. I just have you know, the one example I have with the claircognizance and the clairvoyance was I had a sitter sitting with me one time, and her grandmother was communicating with me, and I kept seeing in my third eye her putting a crown and a scepter on her body. And then I said to her, you know, I don't know if you're royalty, but I'm seeing like a crown and scepter on you. And I'm going to Denmark. And that claircognizant just spewed out Denmark. I didn't see a flag. I didn't see anything. And then she told me that it was rumored that her grandmother had slept with the Prince of Denmark. It's like, oh, like fascinating. I'm like, so those are the kind of things that come up with like your clairvoyance. But I don't remember my dreams. I just remember waking up sad or happy or joyful. Yeah. So some people are incredibly clairvoyant.
Yeah, I don't have vivid dreams either, and I don't think any of my dreams have ever really translated to anything. But like with the clairvoyance, are you receiving images, or are you trying to like create an image in your mind?
Well, this is the double-edged sword. Is this your imagination or is it from spirit? So a tool that I do in my own practice around this is I ask spirit, if this is coming through mediumistically, if I need to pass this message along through a vision, I need it to come from behind me. So I need to feel that information coming from behind me. And if it comes from in front of me, I kind of feel like I'm putting it there. But if it comes from spirit, I'll actually feel it come from behind me. And as you develop your clairsentient, you'll be able to feel that difference. Like when I'm in a reading, I could totally tell now through the work I've done with the soul if their information is coming from their soul, because I feel it come from sacral or solar plexus chakra to solar plexus chakra. And then if it's coming from behind me, I just feel it coming in that way. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I feel like even with my claircognizance, to decipher between like an egoic driven thought and one that I'm receiving, I do feel it kind of drops in kind of at the back of my head. It's very like subtle and quick, like you said, where when it's kind of my mind thinking, it's more, I don't know, like I feel pressure in the front of my head.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just a different weight to it.
Exactly. And that's your discernment getting developed, right? It's like, it's total trial and error. And it's just like, yeah, this is it. 100% of the time, this is it. So, so I love hearing that.
Yeah.
That you experience that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if one of the clairvoyance, because I do love doing aura readings, but I feel auras, I don't really see them. But, you know, I take my students sometimes through seeing auras around each other. Trees are the best thing to see auras around. If you just gaze softly just to the side of the tree, you'll start to see the development of an aura. You know, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers is one of my favorite spiritual books. And he talks about when he transitions to the other side, the brightest light on earth is trees. And so they have a lot of energy and light to them. So trees are a great thing to practice on. Another thing too is, you know, vision boards. So if you have a vision board, like just look at it for a minute and then close your eyes and try to recall everything on that vision board. You're like, yeah, there's a woman at a kitchen. Okay, go deeper. Was there a plant in the kitchen? If so, what kind of plant was it? Was there a pot in the kitchen? What color pot? Like, try to recall every single detail on that. And that's a good way to exercise that clairvoyance, because all the clairs are just muscles to develop, right? Intuitive muscles, if you're interested in doing that.
Yeah, I love it. I love that. I'm going to go practice with trees. I'm camping this weekend, so I'll have lots of time.
So you're like, don't bother mommy. I'm gazing at a tree.
I'm looking at tree rust. Definitely. So is that all? Or do we have one more that we haven't done?
Claircognizant
Yes, I think
is probably one of my favorites, because I mean, you don't have to think about it. It just comes through, that claircognizance. And, you know, so that's the clear knowing. So some signs that you might be naturally claircognizant. So you receive messages in the form of random ideas and solutions. Again, claircognizance is really often solution-based. You're able to predict events. You spend a great deal of time lost in your thoughts. You know when somebody's being truthful and authentic. You're the person with all the answers, and you have prophetic dreams. So one of the experiences I had with claircognizance, as an example, is I was going through a divorce when I was 24, and I literally left with a backpack of clothes and a box of belongings, and spent 6 months like couch surfing till I could land on my feet. And I'd bought this beautiful watch. Well, it was a fossil watch, but to me at 24, it was beautiful and expensive, but I couldn't wear it. It like didn't fit anymore, and I could never understand why. And then one night I was sleeping on a couch, as I did, and I woke up out of a dead sleep at 3 a.m. and I knew exactly what to do. I went to my box. I found this tiny little link in the bottom of my box, and I put it on and I fixed it. And this watch I hadn't been able to wear in 2 years. Like, I had no reason to have that link in my box. I didn't even know I had the watch, but I woke up out of a dead sleep and just had like a solution. A really good way to test the claircognizance is to ask for a solution. So if you talk to the world of spirit saying, I have this going on right now, I welcome in through my claircognizance a solution, and just wait for it to come, and it will come. It might take a couple days, might take a couple weeks, but it will come. And this is a clair that's really developed through confidence. It's connected to the solar plexus chakra, which is really where our self-value, our self-worth, our power, our confidence is. And, you know, this is a center of our energy body that I recommend every single woman have a daily practice on. This is our intuitive center. So this is all around saying, like, I am worthy of the most joy this life has to offer. This is about exercising your power and feeling empowered. There's many different ways to heal the solar plexus, because I do find more than anything else, women who sit with me have like an aching in their solar plexus. There's somebody who told them or made them feel that they weren't worthy. And then therefore their intuition is off center, and then they're not be able to make these decisions for themselves. And that's why they're coming to see me. It's like, girl, wear yellow, get yellow flowers, work with bergamot oil, citrine crystals, but make a dedicated daily practice to your solar plexus. So it's through the solar plexus and through the exercising and validating of claircognizance and the confidence that comes with it that develops this clair further.
And this might be kind of what people incorporate intuition as. Hey, like the intuition in, you know, a more modern context is just this knowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And developing it as a practice to really get familiar with the, you know, the knowing it and where we feel it in our body is absolutely from parenting to entrepreneurship to any aspect of life, to be able to really foster that intuitive connection for the problem solving kind of decision making aspects of life is so powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, and even though you might get information from the soul, like, as you know what I've been through in the past year, and you feel like you're being pulled in a certain way, it doesn't, and you feel like you're getting all the intuitive hits, it still sometimes doesn't make it easier to make those decisions and make those changes, right? Even though you're like recognizing it might be the greatest and good for all involved, it's still, we're human, and we've had experiences that create fear in past lives and even in our lives here. And so sometimes when you're trying to intuit for yourself, it's harder to listen to yourself.
Yeah, and that's a whole other interview. Right?
Absolutely.
We'll dive into that one another time. So what are some ways that we can strengthen our claircognizance in?
Claircognizance is really around following those those hits that you get those inspirations, follow them, and then you'll gain confidence in the fact that it's working through this faculty. And strengthening that solar plexus and really loving yourself fiercely. Right? You got to trust yourself. That's the way that the claircognizance comes through. Claircognizance is not going to, people who are not trusting in themselves and do not feel like they love themselves and are worthy won't even recognize the claircognizance hits when they come in. Right? So I would just say 2 simple things. Just trust, faith, love yourself hard, build up that solar plexus energy daily. And one of my favorite ones I do is I love working with colors. So I'll actually like breathe in yellow and I'll focus on it coming in and out of that energy center. And it feels cleansing to me. Or else I'll just lay on my bed and put a little piece of citrine there and then like kind of like breathe in and pull in that citrine healing energy into my solar plexus. There's so many different ways that you could do it. But it's pretty simple, I think, if I dare say.
Yeah. I'm doing a chakra course starting next month. So
yeah,
understanding the energy centers and what clair they govern, which I know your worksheet kind of highlights, and just taking the time to, focus on that energy center and support that energy center and any kind of imbalances or blockages it has.
Yeah.
So I've prepared this lovely worksheet for everybody, which outlines the 4 different soul languages. It kind of has different, sort of as you discussed with us, it kind of has hints or different ways that you may already be showing that you are receiving or connected in that area. And then it has some information about the chakras or the energy center. What else does the worksheet have?
It has the balance, like when that chakra center is balanced or imbalanced, and that shadow side and the light side, and then different ways through essential oils or healing crystals or visualizations that you can kind of like work on healing that energy center. Perfect. And then it also has exercises on it, visualizations. I tried to pack as much info as possible into them. And they actually created them for my intuitive development groups and my one-on-one mentorship students. But I'm offering it to whoever's listening in today. I'll post a link to the document in the comments after, and you guys can download them and enjoy them and use them.
Perfect. Well, I know that you have to get going soon. So I just wanted to give everybody, besides the worksheet, which will be a great kind of takeaway to dive deeper into this, what do you think, what is one thing that everyone watching today can implement into their day to develop their soul language?
Faith. Develop a strong compass of faith, because it really comes down to that, to be honest with you. We can get so in our heads and doubt things over and over again and muddy that energy and then really doubt it. And it took me a long time through the mediumship development journey, especially in working with my guides. Faith. It's just have faith, surrender to it. Just know that you put the intention out there and spirit will move mountains to work with you on it. And you can call in your guides and say, can you, have come into my life a teacher or an experience of clairvoyance that I can validate, and journal what you get and then wait for that validation to come. Your guides are all just waiting for everybody to wake up and all right, when are we going to get to work? Let's get to work. So
twiddling their thumbs, a little bit bored up there.
I'm sure we always keep them pretty busy, but I just think that they're here to help us on this journey. And so just have faith. Don't overthink it. I kept a blog that's hidden. I mean, people can stumble upon it, but I documented my entire mediumship development journey, from the most little experience to the most fantastical experience. And a few thousand people have come across it, but I didn't put my name on it. But I thought that was fascinating because that helped me develop my faith. I was able to go back to old posts and be like, wow, I've actually come a long way. I should trust this, right? I should trust this. And so I think that that's really foundational for your intuitive development journey. Just have faith.
Faith. And even as we were speaking before, the vibration of a word, when you're up against any situation and you just tell yourself faith. I use surrender all the time. It's an automatic, just, right? It just dissolves all the stress and the fear and all of that away. So yeah, just have faith.
Have faith. Have faith. Yeah.
Have faith. Amazing. So if you guys want to find more out about Danielle, she does do her mediumship readings online and in person here in our little town of Squamish, BC, which is right near Vancouver. She has her intuitive development mentorship programs. You do that one-on-one and in.
I have a group. I have a couple groups, intuitive development circles, and then by application, I take on students one-on-one. Typically, they book a soul session first, and we can, make sure that everyone's all compatible and fill out a questionnaire, and then get to work from there. So I have a handful of students who work with me one-on-one every month.
Yeah, and all of this will be on her new and fancy website, which is launching tomorrow. So leave a link, and you guys just make a note to come back tomorrow to check it out, to see all the new branding, and all your services will be listed there, and people can book with you there. And then, of course, your Spirit School podcast, which is available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all of the places where the podcasts are.
Yeah, and I have a podcast episode dedicated to all these clairs too. So there's a lot of information.
Okay, link to that in the comments as well.
Sure.
Because I'm sure people will want to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been so fascinating. I've had multiple episodes of alignment soul bumps, so you're on a good path when that happens. Awesome. And thank you for all your involvement in the Clouds and Dirt.
Yeah, I love it. What you've created, girl, I'm like, man, I love it. So proud of you.